And we are live. I'm wondering, can you guys hear me? Quick mic check. I take that as a no. Can you guys hear me now? All right, sound failed a little bit there on my little video I was hoping to present for you guys. I could show that later. This is, to me, is a special event. Two gentlemen I call friends, brothers in arms in this seeking we do for truth. These two gentlemen are two of the best boots on the ground Cataclysm investigators, I call them. Without further ado, I suppose we can, well, let me actually show you their work before I bring them in, just to keep the suspense going. So the first gentleman that will be presenting will be Kairos from the I Am Kairos channel. Links are in the description. And here I've clicked the About section. It tells you a little bit more about it. It's always a good idea to do that for content creators. Check what they've got going on, what other things they, what other platforms you can find them, and what else they have on the go. And I'll also show you Mark's channel. If you're not familiar, Mark is Our Melted Reality, and you can see here as well his About section. He has a calendar that he has just released as well, bringing us all sorts of visuals. This is really a visual investigation, this old world exploration, melted and cataclysm investigating is basically what I call it. Let's bring Kairos in for a quick hello.
Hello. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, right. Good to have you here.
I remember one of the first times we made a presentation together was in an unlikely location on Australian radio, making a with Sky Dragon, and that was a great experience together. I thank you for doing that together.
Yeah, that was enjoyable, and that was to an audience that really is not familiar with a lot of the content, so we really had to break it down. And I did ask both you and Mark to present it in such a way as well, even though we have a lot of hardcore researchers in the chat as well. I like introducing this topic to people who aren't familiar with it. So that was part of the aim with this gathering here.
Very good. It is an interesting subject, and hi Mark, your work is so great. You've shown us places all over the world that we normally wouldn't see, and we're seeing some heat, aren't we?
Just a little bit. Great to be here, Chris. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to have you here. I'm going to try and find a way. Actually, this is probably a good presentation. The only thing I don't like is if I bring a comment up, we can't see your pretty face there, Mark.
Oh, it's all good. It's not that pretty.
Anything else either of you want to say that maybe I missed in the intro before we get into the content?
I mean, you're like the professional at this. I really do want to say that. I mean, the hosting you do is just outstanding. I love it. So,
yeah, I'm appreciating your hard work and showing these photos, many of which we know are questionable. And there are some photos in my presentation that I think also might be questionable. Maybe look at them another time. But you mentioned this work on presenting cataclysms, and it's not something we were seeking out to do. We weren't. This kind of came about 3 to 4 years ago, and we started noticing that these locations that many of us have seen growing up, we've walked past, we've been around, we've played on, we never noticed the condition of them. And when we start entering in the brick component, we start to see what bricks look like when they undergo a change, and then we're comparing them to locations that we spend time in, each one of us. And Mark has gone to some outstanding locations and shown extreme evidence of some extreme works that were taking place at those lime kilns. And that was an amazing building project, and we're not really sure what they were doing. It was very far away. And the questions start to come up, and we have to enter into the equation. Many of us that are researching this topic, we appreciate with the education we've received on a limited scale from John Levi. He's shown us these melted objects, and he is very clear that he's seeing them too. And he has a much larger audience, but more of an eclectic channel. But we're going to focus on this melted. And Mark is the master. No one has more. He knows where it is. I'm just in one little area.
Stop it. I appreciate it, man. I mean, you're the same, Kairos. I mean, like, we've been on together many years now, I guess. And we found each other basically at the same time. So our channels.
Right.
So, and then right after that was Chris. So yeah, I appreciate all of y'all, both of y'all.
I just want to test here, guys, to see if they can still hear us chatting while I put a video up. So a quick test. You guys in the chat, let me know if you can hear us. Okay. So are all the audios still working okay? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. I can hear the both of you, but no audio on the video. Yeah. If that has it at this time.
That was the original intention, but it seems to be being a little bit fussy for me. So they can hear us as well. So that's good. So as we present, we can continue to view what we have. This is just a compilation I put together, just explaining my take on what we're seeing, because most of my channel is focused on the buildings that are still intact from the old world, but we're seeing a lot of buildings that are in this state here that look foobarred, I guess you could say, for lack of a better term. And I think I know the two of them go hand in hand. They are, I think they're one and the same, from the same civilization. I don't think this stuff goes back thousands of years. Personally, I think our timeline has been distorted, but a lot of people have differing opinions on what they see. But I think the falsification of history and the historical timeline is a large part of why we can't or couldn't see this. I don't know what you guys think of that.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Chris. I think all this is from the same time period. Basically, everything was built whenever, but I don't think it's thousands of years ago on anything. They put all this in different periods. Whether it be millions of years or in the 1500s or even say the 1800s, as far as the buildings and stuff. So, yeah.
I look at the pictures that are shown to us and the narratives that are given to us and what we all know about construction. And then we find out that these stories absolutely cannot be true. There's the number of bricks that are being brought to these locations is enormous. The presentation that I'm going to show, some of you in the comments, you've seen the T-car comment, and that has to do with the stamped brick that is located in San Francisco, that according to any AI questioning of how long it would take to receive bricks from the initial order from San Francisco in the 1850s and 60s to delivered could be 2 years from first inquiry to first delivery. And the location that I'm showing is 1,000 feet long. The base foundation is below sea level and below the sand, and we don't know the depth of the bricks. But it's a very good thing that we're not playing any kind of a drinking game where when you see a red brick, you have to take a shot, because we'd all be dead in the first 3 minutes.
I thought that was the arrangement here. What are you talking about?
I never said that. But the challenge I would like to put forward is we've seen the no pause challenges in the past, and I'd like to present this video, do the best we can not to pause, even though we'll want to, but we know we all have tight schedules, and it's an amazing evening for us. Been looking forward to this for a while. I think we're going to show an aspect of what's right in public on the side of the road that anyone can investigate in your own town.
All right, let's get your reel going then. No pause challenge accepted.
Okay, and if I ask you to pause, don't. Okay, so this is so we're looking from the ocean at the area near the Cliff House and Sutro Baths, and there's a large castle-like structure on what's known as Sutro Heights, and it's a very popular tourist destination, very well known. At the south end, much of the structure is covered with thick layers of decaying sprayed on concrete or gunite or shotcrete, and it is sprayed on. It's a hydraulic process with air power out of a nozzled fire hose, for lack of a better description, and it is applied inches thick and possibly layer after layer. This area is completely covered. And as we come around the corner, we're going to see where it makes a notable change. And then we're going to find the brick construction. We're looking at this today from 3 different angles. We're going to look from the street. We're going to go up at the top of the bluffs and climb down into the structure, top down without hurting myself, and then down to the beach, looking back up. Each one of these visits has different light, so you're going to see the way that these items appear. So here's the end of the applied material, and we start to see that there is stacked elements with joints, very tall. It's a very large structure, and the tree growth and foliage is limited and planted on purpose. Some of the earlier photos, you'll see there's very little growth. So the maximum age on this bluff from some of the earlier photos could be 100-year-old plants, possibly. So just stepping off the road, we're able to go directly into the hillside, and we're going to immediately find out that it's red brick and mortar construction. Immediately. And this is all viewable from Google Earth Street View, and the address will be available. We're going to see that these are stamped bricks, that there's a T-car brick. And you can see the condition of the material does have a dripping, top-down dripping. And we're going to go in and see what this is made of. It's red bricks, obviously.
But Kairos, I got some comments saying it's a bit grainy. People are having trouble seeing the video.
On my end, it's looking high definition.
Oh man, yeah, it's a bit grainy for me as well.
Yeah.
So I wonder if there's I wonder if I present it from my screen.
Yeah,
directly. So let's take note of the timestamp. How far are we in? Approximate 3:20.
So this doesn't count as a pause, right? Technically, we're just technical issue.
Right. Looks like I have control over the video, so I just paused it illegally.
And now it's buffering. Okay, yeah.
So I'm going to.
It's becoming more clear now.
So I just have it stopped. So I'm going to try something really quick.
Yep.
And I'm going to see if this see if this works. There's an artificial pause. Not fair.
It's not a real pause, guys. Come on, you can't count that. Not fair. Are you gonna share a screen, Kairos?
Yes, sir. Just let me bring up my video. One moment, please.
Mm-hmm. Drum roll, Mark. Drum roll. This is just teasing.
And you were the first to discover this, basically, Kairos, I believe. The first I've ever seen on it, however many years ago.
I'm having a struggle with my share screen. I'm looking. One moment. I need to find the video. Well, I'm sorry for the short delay. Just give me one moment, please.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, this is San Francisco, right? Obviously, I think you mentioned that, but
yes, it is. So while I'm sorry about the graininess of the video. I'm going to try to play it. I'm going to just continue playing it. Is there any improvement for you?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so I don't know if it's buffering. So anyway, so finding this location was just by accident on the Google Street View. Now, as I hit this, you're going to see the red is going to be exposed right in there, mortar joint. Then we're going to start to notice the familiar yellow that has the appearance of sandstone, and that's going to appear continually around the red bricks. There's very strange structure up high, so that's probably 100 feet off the road surface.
Yeah. Incredible shot.
So locating this, I was doing some sort of other research, and I found myself on the street view on the Google map, right alongside the Cliff House. I was interested in sutro baths and what have you, and then I noticed that the entire hillside is made of bricks. It's 1059 Point Lobos Avenue. You'll see that a little later on. Anyone can examine it, but you see the red surface and how it just morphs into the existing red brick. And as it continues, just notice that there's mortar between the construction. That's a very noteworthy sign if you're going to use the Google Maps. It's very easy to use the street view, come right up on that sign, and you can look right into that space, as well as using the feature of using their views from previous years. You can compare in different seasons, and you can see it better. So look up in this section here. You'll see the brick lines, and you'll see that the color has changed to that very light yellow gray, but the brick lines are still intact, and then yet there's an area of near pristine brick, but right next door it is bubbling. So this idea of the grain growth, if you look at the condition of the bricks, they have, for lack of a better word, a popcorning effect. The structures internally, due to heat, actually expand and change their constitution. So we're seeing this throughout the entire presentation. So underneath there, and those upper turrets, is red brick construction. Here's some red brick that's not destroyed, but it's right adjacent to the yellow and the burnt portions. That rounded section reminds me of the internals of a constructed column that we might see that have been overlaid with some sort of a veneer or rendering. Yeah. There you can see that surface was boiling.
Yep.
Follow the drip lines all the way down. It's like a sand castle. If anyone's ever made a sand castle on the shore where you collect the sand and wet water in your hand and let it drip, you can form little spires. And so we're seeing that evidence of top-down flow. So this is in a well-known tourist location right near the Cliff House, which has an interesting history. So notice the expansion. This down here is what I would call a flow channel. So you can see that there is a section where everything has collected and slid down, and it appears to have not completed its slide, re-solidifying on the way down. You can see the growth of the internal grains in that picture. Also, notice that there's the larger aggregate that looks almost like concrete, but we can see it anywhere. So keep your eye out for the gray and the dark black aggregate. Then you notice it's turning into the extremely hard yellow. So the question about the last 200 years. So we have historical photos of Sutro, the operation. So there was Adolf Sutro, mayor of San Francisco, has a large mansion, castle-like structure on top. He has the cliff house area, and then the Sutro baths themselves, which is quite a magnificent location with evidence of control of water. So here's just an intact brick. So we've got this very hard mass, which is formed together and solidified into a new mass. But the yellow internally seems to have expanded terrifically. Here's the dripping. Those that you can tell where the where it had run down.
We should tell that story about the person you said who lived there the whole lives there and never.
Certainly. Right. So I'm after I break open that. So I just knocked off that red crust, and it's separated, and it's yellow instead. That's a brick right next to there. So I was down here taking photos, and I was up inside the cliff like I am, and there was a local out having a walk and doing photography, elderly person, possibly 50 years, San Francisco, and they asked me what I was doing up there, and I said I just pulled out a brick, and I showed them the T-car brick, and I said the entire bluff is made of bricks, and they looked at me like I was mental, and then they took out their Zoom, and it was they were like, how could I not know? They walked by. But it's not hidden. It's not hidden. The gunnighted section, which we'll get a better look at down from the beach with some of the so-called golden hour light right before sunset, just the brilliant red color is going to set off all the detail in the video. You notice there's a stamped brick right over off to the right that I'm going to get to it. I'm going to get it. So some of the bricks are extremely hard, and some of them are extremely crumbly. And right there at the base of whatever this is an enlarged mortar surrounded yellow piece. Now here's that's got a stamp on it. And it's just another brick. Some have suggested that this is rubble that may have been dumped down the hill after the 1906 earthquake. But these are constructed with mortar, first of all, and they're T-car bricks, which are 14,000 miles away by ship. So we're right above the Sutro baths. And we can see that actually is quite a construction in itself. And the condition of the blocks around the front are melted stone. So we're going to be now on the north end, coming around. Yes, for us, that's probably true. The coming around this north side, looking into the bluffs. Now we have this completely different light. It's right before sunset. And we're going to look directly into and see if we can see brick lines. This corner is the most damaged, the northern. This is the area that seems to have the most evidence of what they would call volcanology, flowing volcanic surfaces. The cliff house appears to be plastered over brick structure, and it does not resemble anything that it once did. That may be part of an original foundation with falsified photos. We'd have to look into that closer. Currently closed, may not open. A lot of these places get abandoned. So this is the north end, and we're seeing this chalky, flaky, cooked out yellow sandstone with a vein of sedimentary bricks. So we're seeing the red emerging from amongst this very tall, very predictable slope. So the walls that are near the cliff house on the road, look at the condition. You can see the outline of the mortar. You can always find the mortar joint, very irregular. So sort of a turret up the face of this bluff. You can clearly see all the individual modules that are bricks. So those would be what I would term a vacated brick. The mortar is still there, but the brick components have turned into dust. We'll see a lot more.
We have photographs of the Sutro baths intact at the turn of the 20th century, don't we?
There's quite a few pictures to choose from in varying stages of being open. It seems like the longer time goes by, the less original it appears, becomes a lot more gaudy. It becomes more of a carnival museum and all kinds of strange things. And if its original purpose was slowly lost until it finally was abandoned and likely burnt down as an insurance fraud after a complete financial failure. Questionable. So we go in to, you can see the mortar around the pockets. And so that's the location. If you type that into Google Map, Street View, you'll be right here next to this sign. And you can see there's structure up there. There's openings. I really don't know what that is. It's up there, and it's twisted metal, and it's possibly accessible. I've had some commenters that have suggested that there are openings that they had gone into as children, maybe 50 years ago. And I've got a couple spots that I'm suspicious of, but have not found openings above sea level. Below sea level, yes. Above, no.
It's an incredible place, Kairos.
It's right out in the open. It's truly hidden in plain sight. People go whizzing by, and anyone that stops, they are looking at the sunset, and they're off to walk on the beach, and they're not looking up at that. So that looks like a possibly a column that may have been vertical that fell backwards to itself, kind of like if you had a candle with a blowtorch, it would fall back. So this is one of the areas you see. I'm still on the asphalt, and stamped bricks are right in the bushes.
Yeah. And most people don't even notice.
No, they're very busy. Now there's also some encampments. I've seen evidence of people sleeping or staying. Great view. So the condition. So we see the bricks are mortared together, and then they have crust on them, and those ones off to the side are collapsing, exposing the internals, which have changed their matter. The outer, there's just so little left. We have many questions about what may have caused this, when it may have happened, how it may have happened. Just returning to the idea of these being scrap bricks from wherever in the city, this is a very difficult location to get to. First of all, it's the terrain and the location. It's really not near the earthquake affected area of 06 and fires, as we've been told. So in that time period, it would mean that the owner, Adolf Sutro, would approve of dumping debris off his property down onto his property. So he would, it seems like a very unlikely idea. Those are the T-car bricks again. So notice the condition of this brick and the girth of that cypress tree.
Yeah.
So possibly, we look at the historical photos and we try to determine. There seems to be some photos with advertisements for automobiles and cars in the picture. So possibly the 30s, when there were virtually no shrubs. So this was an intentional planting. It seems anything, it would break up the bricks as opposed to
or keep, if they're still intact, you'd want to keep them. What kind of heat melts bricks? I'm sure you've done a little research on that.
From experiments and reading, there seems to be a wide variety, but it seems to be the number is 6,500 is what stands out to me when it actually becomes viscous or flowing. But it's very interesting when we talk about these temperatures. Now, these are temperatures that would need to exist in a controlled environment where you could maintain that heat for an extended period of time if you wanted to duplicate it. And the worst place to create temperatures of high degrees is out in the open. You're not going to ever do that. You're not going to make a bonfire down on that beach that's ever going to be hot enough to melt anything, really. It has to be in a controlled, like a blast furnace, a kiln, a foundry, some sort of a factory. So I'm showing here that there seems to be a delineating point where the gunite stops and the wall affected diagonally from the top down all the way down to the beach and well below current sand level and ultimately below sea level.
I wonder what made them gunite just part of it like that.
Yeah, I was going to ask that too.
I would like to show you as we progress. It seems that now that our eyes are opened, and with this view from the beach that I'm going to show right before sunset, seems to really show off the brick joints, seems to show them off. And it seems to be a much greater, much more obvious structure that if they didn't do something, they could have, theoretically the side of a bastion, the side of a castle, the lower sections of this castle that I'm going to be climbing on in a minute. So now we're well above. We're at the location they refer to as Land's End. And you can come to the edge of the west coast and you look over the railing and it's bricks.
Wow.
First thing you see, you look over there and red brick construction just right over the railing. So we're at the northern end, and it's quite nice. If you use the Google Street View feature, you can actually tour this entire area, the walking path that I'm on, and just let it refresh, and you can see all the details. But the sections that are mortared together are very large, not just components of walls. And the larger they get, the heavier they get. And we know the difficulties of logistics with this time period. So that mass on that beach down there is the base of part of this wall. And like I said, the sand is 30 or 40 feet higher right now than the current historical foundations for the adjoining seawall. So I'm pointing out that there's constructed walls right over the fence.
Mm-hmm.
And those are stairs. And there's strange passageways, and there's stacked round turrets or rings or terraces. So again, we're going to go down in here. I got that high visibility vest, that way nobody can see me.
Yeah, nice vest.
It looks like you're working. People leave you alone when they think you're working.
Right. If they ask me too many questions, they might have to work too. So here is you can see that the tree stump is growing over, and notice that black internal.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a grain growth component. That is where it is expanded, and these internal components, when subjected to different types of heat, are going to react differently. So these bricks are a component, they're aggregate. So quite high up and extremely steep. So you'll notice every time I go over towards the water view, so here's more of that.
Mm-hmm.
So these turn out to be large granite stairs that have machine cut marks on them. And those will be visible, but it seems like a very difficult place to install.
Do they have a story attached to that one? Do they have a narrative attached to that?
This area is kind of above the fence. They have a narrative. At the Cliff House and Sutro Baths, they do have a narrative. This bluff is not spoken about.
Mm-hmm.
There's each one of these pieces that we're seeing in every single shot is an individual piece installed with mortar. That is and it's 1,000 feet long, and it's a couple hundred feet tall. So we're trying to calculate, if we were just to try to estimate the number of bricks or blocks or stones or whatever these are that are mortared together. It's obviously part of a retaining wall for this larger castle, so it would have had to have been built before Sutro's mansion and gardens and grounds.
But you're very close.
Go ahead.
You're really close to the mansion, aren't you? The Sutro's house, Beach House, like this location here.
Like 50 feet.
50.
It's
oh, yeah. Okay.
Right behind me. So if I would have gone to the left instead of over the railing, we'd be climbing up the side of the foundation for that mansion.
Very interesting. I remember when you first released this.
Yes.
It was my jaw was on the floor when I first got a look at this hillside, and it was, to me, it was like it was a clincher for the Cataclysm that something happened here. It's really undeniable.
Recent.
Yeah,
we have stamped bricks, and we know those stamped bricks are from Thomas Carr brothers family, Scotland, 1820s, 40s. I don't know how long it would take to order all these bricks, to get them all. They say they were delivered in the bottom of ships as ballast. So it wasn't even a ship that was just for bricks. It was just they needed weight, and maybe they can make the money instead of using rocks. So there's a brick wall sitting up here. The edge of that brick looks like if it was briefly molten and being spattered, that's what it would look like. The end was kind of melted off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But there's you see the obvious red brick down below, and then you see it's clearly the shape of a brick, and it's mortared in place, taking many hard hits to get rid of it.
It looks like it should be so fragile that you should almost be able to pop it out. It's funny how firmly embedded it is.
These are really strong. There's only it's pretty good. So we could look down here, and you can see that underneath the red chalky surface on the top, you see that red spatter, and then it's white underneath instead of a red brick. The one below is still red, so it's hard to know. It's very steep. So now we're looking down from the top at the Cliff House location, and we're going to see that the conditions are similar down there. So this is along the walking trail. I'm pointing to blocked up arched openings that are within the masonry. So there are other openings that have been intentionally closed, either with concrete or rubble or blocks. The condition of the railings are very bad, but they're not hiding this part. I mean, all you have to do is look over the rail and you'll find that the hill is brick. So I'm using a combination of 2 cameras right now for my videos, if people are curious. I'm using the Nikon P900, and the one that you see on screen is my P1000. So these are good resolution, good video cameras, real durable, not horribly expensive, not horrible. So these are the granite steps, and you can see into the side is that crusty red with the yellow. We may see some evidence of the machine marks on the front face of those risers. But just as close to the top, there's still the mortar construction. These strange little rings that seem to be up and down the top of the bluff.
Just in plain sight.
This is the south end of the Sutro Heights, where I had shown at the very beginning, looking up at the castellated features of that wall. Pay close attention to the condition of these blocks. If you're fine-tuned to seeing it, you'll see the brick lines, and you will see some of the red still in place. I'll give you an idea of where I am right now. I'm almost to the very top of the foundation for the mansion and statuaries. And I'll give you a little reminder here. So I'm up on the top right, way up there. So here's the condition of these stones, and there does appear to be non-original mortar between these very irregular shapes, very tiny pieces plugged into openings. The small holes, the little pock marks, people would try to say was some sort of a wind or water erosion, but the other surrounding concrete doesn't seem to be subjected to that. You can tell that those grout joints there have been retucked. Those are not the original. So I came down. Now we're down low, looking at the wall next to the Cliff House, and look at the condition of this block.
Yeah.
Now there's many areas where we'll see current concrete or rendering, and it appears that it can be applied directly over a wall, which is still mechanically sound, like that one, while concealing the core. So that little bit of concrete you see there, very easily have the damaged material underneath. And there's a couple areas at the actual Sutro baths themselves that we'll get a look at. So you see the familiar color, the yellow and the gray and the shapes. So just looking at the, I'm looking back at the bluff from the edge over near that giant camera, looking back up towards the bluff, and we find out that there's bricks again.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
So
What a mess.
exploding, just exploding. So the mortar.
It looks like it's soft and made of clay. That's what it looks like. Weird.
Then here you can see the horizontal lines that still kind of ghost out of the wall. If you start to really look at it, you see these lines that run, but the material is so bizarre. The shapes are so irregular. You can see the it's folding. It's like it was bubbling sugar, like tar.
Yeah.
And
or cheese, fried cheese.
Exactly. So my goal is to go back here with some better equipment and get a little better shot, but I do need to go inside that sea cave at low tide. I might have to go in there with my wetsuit on to get in. I don't know. I want to go in.
You be careful.
That's right. So how about this? So now we're down on the street. So now doesn't it seem easy to see the brick lines? Doesn't it seem we don't need prompting? I don't need to use the pointer. Where are there bricks here? We don't know. Are there?
Wow. I was going to ask you to pause it, but
you're not allowed to. Only due to technical difficulty. So
yeah.
Sorry.
It's an amazing area. Amazing evidence.
So see, there's that sign I mentioned. So if you hit that 1059 Point Lobos, you're right at those openings, those square cut openings.
Wow. Yeah, look how square they are. Wow.
So we see these very tall, vertical, very thick. You can start to see how many bricks thick is that outcropping. Very, very thick. 100 feet off the ground. That would be a flow channel. You can see where that has. It looks like a snowdrift, like a snow avalanche. You can tell where an avalanche.
Oh wow!
They have that shape. So that's some sort of, a pipe maybe. And then here we're going to look again from a different angle and better light. That same area we saw before. Okay, here's some great historical photos. That windmill is the westernmost grounds of the 1893 Midwinter Exhibition in San Francisco, now Golden Gate Park. This area is surrounded by all three World Expos. 1893, 1915, and I believe 1939. Treasure Island. So this is a massive seawall that is 2.25 miles long. It's all concrete construction on the exterior appearance, best we can tell. But there's currently, you can notice these possible construction photos, maybe. Now look how much structure is below where the man is standing at the opening. The sand is currently higher than the openings. You will see none of the lower steps today. So that construction would be below sea level.
Wouldn't they have to build a barrier at the ocean to?
So notice that. So if you notice the height. Now notice right there.
Wow.
You can't see the steps at all. They're not.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So there's probably 40 feet of accumulated stand before you might be able to see some of the footings of this 2.25 mile long trench concrete seawall they made during the Great Depression. So this is the section between the gunite and that first stack of very strange aggregate component blocks. So the further north we go, the worse the material appears.
So just to some people asking, we're in San Francisco. If you're just tuning in, this is Kairos' work in San Francisco, the Sutro area of San Francisco.
So you'd asked what might be under the gunite. So here we're getting a good look at structure, vertical. You can see the outline of the bricks now. You can see their right angles. You can see that clearly as some sort of a shelf. That is a column. Yeah. And you can see it's almost like a drape has been thrown over it. You know, if you throw like a dust cloth over something, if it has some shape to it, you can make it out. Well, this looks like you can see the outlines of the bricks in certain areas. You can clearly see them. So this is the very northern end of the seawall onto Ocean Beach, entry number 1. And then we will walk north, and we're going to see this dramatic appearance of a much older seawall, a much older vertical wall. So remember, there's 40 feet or more of sand in place right now. So that same sand is concealing the base of this massive wall. So you'll see that it's been boiling. There's vertical and horizontal joints. And it's huge.
Wow.
But I'm showing the diagonal shape. So the diagonal right where my hand is, coming down right to left, is the transition from gunite to blocks. And that just happens to be where where this wall ends and becomes an even more amazing surface. Hello, Jen. Glad you made it in.
The gunite guys must be in on it.
That is it's a lot of material and a lot of mined material again. It's a lot of mined material with time-sensitive usages. So when you mix up these materials, you've only got 60 minutes, 45 minutes before it's starting to harden up. So this is towering, and it's very climbable. And you'll see that the joints, the mortar work has been added. That's not the original mortar. So it had a different appearance. It was remortared, and that's what we're seeing. Now this is where it takes an obvious change of shape. And we're looking carefully at these transitional elements, and we see a lot of horizontal lines and what looks like a melted brick. And we start to see the lines and the vertical lines and the color. And we need to ask ourselves, this is directly underneath this entire structure that looks like it went through a cataclysm. So what are we really seeing? There are openings underneath that bridge that are blocked off now. They used to be open, and they have metal grate, so you're not able to go in. It looked very expansive under there and may have openings. I don't know. So all those trees from this distance, you can tell those are really not old trees.
No.
Now see,
it's almost like I feel like they wanted more foliage. It's like they expected it to be more covered up or something, because it feels really sloppy to me. You know,
it is sort of random, and I kind of agree. I think they would have liked it to have taken off a little more. It is still visible, but like I said, it's 1,000 feet long, so it's pretty hard to hide this. Have a peek at this one here. How about that? Boom. Bricks right in there.
Yeah.
Just right in there. So there's openings that go underneath that are only accessible during low tide. So I was here during a minus tide, similar tides to this week. So 1 foot below sea level is where the tide was. And later that day, the coast would experience the so-called king tides, which is where it may go as much as 8 feet above sea level. So almost 10 feet of water movement in 6 hours. So we're inside of a sea cave now. And you'll see the striped lines. Now, I'm not seeing anything that looks like a brick anymore. But there's clues when you start to see the lines that are supposed to be sedimentary, yet they're not laying flat. They're diagonal. And some giant piece of timber wedged in here. So earlier that day, the water would be coming in here with the waves, and it would be 8 feet deep. So not every time you come. You got to really plan your trip. So I'm just seeing a lot of small squares and flat lines and right angles, and that seems to be a little channel. That looks like a wall that has collapsed backwards on itself.
Yep.
Still in place, but no longer vertical. You can pause later, but the brick lines are there. The joint lines are there. They are on that collapsed flat surface. So this is an area that takes pounding surf, and it's showing very similar wear to the items that are 300 feet higher that don't take any surf.
Exactly. Yep.
Now we're going to enter in the electrical component with these images. These look like electrical streamers going through the material, so-called Lichtenberg effect. Something worth considering. We don't know the source of the energy. Many of us are leaning towards electrical and possibly weaponized, selective. There's areas that are right near here that are great. There's other areas not. This area here is westerly facing, and I'm finding that the western face of Alcatraz seems to have significant damage too, coming from the same direction. Also a large castle. Go ahead.
Well, I had a recent chat with Michelle Gibson. She talked about how she thinks they inverted. Yeah, they inverted the energy grid. What do you think of that theory? They've found a way to use it. Yeah, to use it against the grid, I guess.
It may have been asking too much of the system and it overloaded. I don't know, but it does seem that this piezoelectric effect, where high weight on materials made of silicon-based crystals, when under massive compression, will release energy. And this is very heavy. This entire bluff is extremely heavy. And the Sutro Baths looked like an advanced power plant with, how about that? Some maniac went up there and spray painted that on there.
Nice.
Some maniac.
Who would do such a thing? Who would do such a thing?
I hope I don't. Yeah. So here's the front of that. Here's the front of that bluff, and notice the structure again. Coming down, raining down, and then here we look directly at it. Where that tree is growing out right below is a vertical surface that looks like it's been poorly plastered, and you can start to see it cracking through, and you see a lot of lime leaching out.
And so that's the shotcrete there, yeah? The section?
Correct. That's correct. And what you're seeing with that white is a product of what's called efflorescence, and that is where the minerals within the mortars or cement or grout or whatever type of a product at the top blocks.
Yeah, didn't get that part. They missed that part.
Yeah,
whoops.
Their ladder wasn't tall enough. So the so this efflorescence is the leaching out of the lime through the material by means of water. So you can see it just coming out. So this is, the edge of that grain growth stack, and there's still some red up in there, but the rest of it has now puffed out Some are using the term pebblecrete. We're searching for what this is. We're trying to use the words that can be identified that people can understand. So this just continues on down. This is the area where it has expanded. The aggregate, it's a different aggregate, but yet it's still mortared together. This is just a little bonus here, a little bonus with the big camera. So that's a 27-mile long shot to the Farallon Islands and buoy right in front of it. If you look carefully, you'll have to pause the video later. You can see the waves breaking on the slope of the island. So that's really far away, really far.
No, enough said.
So now we're in this sea cave, and we're inside of one of the utility tunnels of the Sutro baths. They were using the ocean, and they were having swimming pools, both heated and cold, eventually ice rink. But down below are these bricks.
Wow.
There's bricks down there. So that area there is only going to be dry, and you can't really even call that dry. There's only for a couple of hours, and then the water's going to come right in. During the really high tides, the ocean waves will splash out of this hole and into the cave, and you need to time it right, otherwise you will get sprayed. But this is below sea level, so I don't know if they would so they bring in the crew of guys, and they wait for the ocean to go out. They go down there and set a course, and then leave for the day. And then if the ocean didn't ruin it, they'd come in and do another the next day. I mean, that's below sea level, like 80% of the time I just showed you.
Do they? Go ahead, Mark.
I was just going to say I was blown away when I first saw that Kairos when you videoed it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't know how extensive. So these blocks and boulders have the elements of fused construction. We're going to see that there's
Crazy.
red.
Wow.
So this is underwater most of the time, getting pounded, and then we've got this bizarre wall. So think about that. Foundation of that wall is going to be under seawater in about 3 hours from when I took this video, and then the water is going to crash over the top. So this has been getting pounded for many decades.
Yeah,
100 years.
And it seems to have no effect on what it looks like.
Nope. So there's more bricks up in here, but then there's these series of channels that make up this greater structure.
Weird.
This is one of my favorite parts, and we're coming right towards the end. But and it was very dark. It was almost I was using a light, and it was after sunset, and we're seeing these strange water canals, constructions, concrete. But you're going to see a progression from what would be called geology into red bricks up this stairway. It's a constructed stairway, and I'm pretty sure it was all brick.
Wow.
At one time. We're going to get a quick peek at the affected hillside.
Jeez.
And at the top, some more of that resurfaced or rendered or plastered concrete faced wall of terrible condition. Here's an area where at the top of this hill, you're going to see where the material has come off, exposing the inner damaged core. So look past the graffiti and look at the vacated pockets, the lines, the spaces. It's all in pause time, but it's all there. It's all there. But down below, you see the structure. This is right on the edge of the ocean, 1800s time period. And then up on top of some of these water features, we're finding that the T-car bricks are here. They're actually in place. This one here it's upside down. and you can read the letters. The one on the right side is an inverted T-car. So 14,000-mile trip on that brick.
Yeah, no worry, no problem.
Those are coming from where, Kairos? T-car, supposedly?
Scotland. Thomas
Scotland.
Carr. Right. Yeah, very interesting. So that's the end of my presentation. And I'm going to pass the baton to Mark. But I don't know if you have any questions about the area. Now would be a great time if anyone had a specific question in the chat. I did not watch the chat, only what you put up. But I don't know if that's a great place to start with the map.
Yeah, just quickly, because Kairos was giving me a little bit of a lesson on how to navigate on here. So I put that address in that I threw in the chat earlier, 1059
Yeah.
Lobos Ave. Takes you to here. And then this is how you discovered this location. Is that correct, Kairos? Is that what you were saying?
Right. So I just wanted to use the street view, and I wanted to see what the Cliff House and the Sutro Baths. I was just kind of looking at the area where I could travel. So if you continue north on the road, you'll see, but you'll notice they have some cloning tools that they've used there. So it's the picture is skewed. You can see they duplicate some of the patterns, but you'll notice up ahead in the picture there's that sign. So if you click and continue up, you'll find that very sign, and there's that structure, those vertical pieces, and you'll see what I just showed you. So when I saw that, it didn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
How could it make sense?
That's so cool that's how you found it. It's so crazy obvious too. I'll put it in the chat one more time.
Yeah, I've taken some bricks. I gave Curtis 47 a T-car as a gift, and it's kind of a nice reminder. He's doing some great work. There's a number of explorers that are looking at the same things we are. I would love to mention a bunch of them, but I'll miss a few, and then someone will feel bad. There's a large group of people.
We'll put them all in the chat as much as we can, maybe in the comment section to this.
I think
might be good too. Yeah.
But somehow something has led us to this research. I did not expect to be looking for bricks. Now it's to the point where I maybe try not to see them, but it's too bad. You can see that.
Yeah, it's too late.
Now what's crazy? It's everywhere, right? That's what's crazy. It seems to me like it's
right.
And Mark's going to take us to some other locations. Let me get rid of. You got a screen to share, Mark? You good to go?
Yeah. Looking forward to this.
Yeah.
Great stuff, Kairos.
Amazing presentation, Kairos. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's unassailable, I think, is the word you used earlier when we were chatting, and I think that's a great word to describe.
That's the word. It cannot be defeated. Yeah, those are definitely constructed melted bricks that underwent.
Oh, it's
something terrible.
This your research on that one, Mark Kairos took it away from maybe to for sure in my mind that we're actually seeing something.
Mm-hmm. I've come up against some opposition early on. People wanted to say no. I'm going to mic mute and enjoy, and I'm going to pop in a little later. Maybe right here.
Right on. Can y'all see this? I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to start with what they call millions of years. Just kind of a few videos, and then I'll go into some pictures where I've been through the years. And so I wanted to start with the millions of years thing, and I'll just go ahead and let this run. And let me do something real quick. There we go. So here, this is just a place called Cherokee Rock Village, 600 million. It's either 300 or 600 million years old, but what's the difference? And what we're finding is what I'm thinking is obviously all of this is melted structure to me. And I'll get into a little bit more of comparing things, say from the 1800s to stuff like this, actually in this certain spot or this site here. But I'll go through a few, anywhere from millions of years to like 300 to 600 million years. But if you find stuff like this, and to me, it's just the leftover of what is a brick structure, and the outside of it, left over the redness and the flat walls, the lines, you name it. Right here, the huge blocks, just like looks like a different realm here, but you have to excuse me, everybody. My voice is not what it should be. It's so I have to do that every now and then. But
Wow.
yeah,
I see evidence of lines in construction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I do want to pause it real quick right here. So, can you see my cursor?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So here you have the horizontal lines over here, and now you're having it go this way, and it seems to me like this is a archway, and it used to be horizontal lines here, and it's come over and sank down and melting. However that happened, but it's just one spot, and right around the corner here, and I'll show some other stuff around.
Where is this, Mark, roughly?
This is still well, this is like middle North Alabama. Cherokee Rock Village is this place.
Okay.
Specifically, and here, and I'll have some pictures.
Oh wow.
But this when I stepped on this, I was just like, wow, man, this is so distinct, and then this Pebble Creek.
That looks like the grain growth.
Right.
And to be clear, there's not supposed to be any sort of construction in this area you're looking now. Is that correct?
No, not at all. None of this first part of the millions of years. There's no construction around it at all. This is actually on native land or Indian land.
Wow.
But yeah. Just I've been here twice, and I want to go back again. It's pretty incredible. It's really massive. The whole place, lots of trails, a lot of climbers go here. But the melting aspect, just like here, and going down.
Look at that.
600 million years old, 300 million years old.
Yeah, it's either 300 or 600. I can't remember on that one specific. There's another one that I'll show. Now this one, it's called High Falls Park, Alabama. It's only supposed to be like 20-something million years old, but
Okay.
and they say that this part here was eroded by the water, basically. But the problem with that is, you have these right angles and lines, and you have these blocks up here, and you can almost see the brick lines in here.
Mm-hmm.
But all Mother Nature, they say, and looking down from it, you have the right angles here, and just the oozing down, it looks like, and water does pound through here when it rains a lot, but you're not getting the same effect if you're calling erosion, when just like when Kairos was showing that water pounds those certain bricks and blocks, and they don't change. But just looking total like construction, you either have blocks, you can call them blocks, or brickwork, whatever. You can't specifically see any bricks here, but you see the lines. And now this is somewhere else. This is one of the 300 to 600 million years old. I can't remember what spot, but it's just so obvious that you have this 90-degree all the way down, and you have this thin layer left over on each side over here, to the right and the left, and obvious lines here. And this one's called Horsepins 40, another rock climbing place in Alabama. It's right down from Cherokee Rock, about 40, 50 miles. But I was looking through here, just a perfect, like somebody came in here and just poured this concrete wall right here, 90 degree. And this is just, to me, is falling over, melting over. You still have your straight lines here.
Mm-hmm.
Or say, now all this, I forgot to say, all this is supposed to be formed under the ocean. Every bit of this, however many millions of years ago, which is just ludicrous. And obviously this, I mean, not obviously, but this is too supposed to be formed under the ocean. That's the only narrative they give you. But you see these lines and almost identical, and as far as how the spacing is, very, very thin. Here's a wall here, and you can even see the line here because this kind of goes this way, but kind of the same line, and then drifting level. Okay, so here's a comparison. These are the same. This is the same picture here, just two of them. This is from a brick factory, supposedly. Actually, it's 1887, I think, but they always give you different years, kind of when it started. So these are the millions of years at those places that I was just showing, and under the ocean is how this is supposed to be formed. But even this is looking a little weird as far as how big these rocks are in this concrete looking stuff. But if you were to just show that right there, you would say 100% that was concrete.
Yeah.
But
these four pictures together, I believe I saw things that looked just like that at the Sutro area, and we know it's not millions of years.
Mm-hmm.
Same look.
Yeah. I mean, even these are two separate pictures, but you can see what's going on here. And like you're saying, Kairos, man, it's anywhere you go, whether it be old buildings or on trails, you're going to find stuff like this. So,
what do you guys think of nature itself? You know, what we always thought of as Mother Nature, this wild and wonderful world of ours. Like, in the way I envision it, is more of a terraformed realm. Everything seemed to have much more purpose. Now we're living post Cataclysm, so there's chaos, and nature just seems to have grown over and taken over. So I always often wonder and think about like what it must have been like, our relationship to nature. You know, do you know what I mean?
It was probably incredible. I don't know. It's frustrating not knowing, Chris. Yeah, like what we should be doing as far as one with nature and all that. Man, I feel you. Go ahead.
Some of this, what we're finding, you know, it's obviously constructed, but we don't know the builders. So that's where the bigger questions: who was this built for? Mm-hmm. We need to know.
Here is just this is at Nakalula Falls, and this is on down from the falls, but I just noticed something too. But like stuff like this, yeah, sure, you could put this together, right? Now, this isn't a very stupid spot to do this, and whatever was going on, if somebody actually put this, because on down this river here, there's flat spots. So, and of course they blame it. There's no narratives. It's just like, oh, the Indians did it, the natives, whatever, however long ago. But now, see, this is a piece of iron coming out. Now, this is just something leaning on it. And I got the other side of it. That's like kind of a clear shot of it. And you can see the iron coming out here.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And it is a distinct stoppage here. And like I said, I don't know. But there's nothing on it. They just blame the natives. And if you're really thinking logically, why would you do this? But here's that piece of iron right there.
Wow.
Which I just noticed that the other day. I took this picture probably almost 3 years ago, but just weird.
Now, If that was in Scotland or Ireland, they would say that was built in the 1600s or the 1500s. But then the little piece of iron sticking out would blow that story apart. But that's what that looks like. It has the same look, you know. Yeah.
Looks like it looks kind of like part of a dam.
Right. Yeah.
I
think that's what they say as far as, the Indians did it for a dam or whatever. But
it looks really strong. It looks really strong until it got destroyed. That was not. That's very thick, and I don't think the river current would be enough to burst it. And the rest of the area looks so bad. Something happened here.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is in the same area, and that's the thing too. Everything's supposed to be natural except for like what I just showed, and there might be another building somewhere, just a tiny one in the middle of the river. But you're walking on the trail, and then you find this, or you just walk over this. So what's going on here? And in my mind, this was structure, and it left these lines, and there's no kind of coring or anything related around this place. And you would never just go in the middle of the woods and just slam this here. So it's huge. So just a point on that.
Yeah.
And here we have that was a Natural Bridges, Alabama. And just the scope of this thing, you can see down here what the people, and it's so precise. And I do remember running into a couple of people, and they were like, "This is natural?" And I'm like, probably not. So this is supposed to be formed over millions of years, and it's the whole top's flat, and you were only seeing half of it right here. But just wanted to make the point, and these are everywhere, all over the realm. And this is the same place, and this 90-degree all the way down seems like it's twisting over in whatever cataclysm, and it's just melting. Same place here, and you have the flat walls here.
That could have been right out of my video. It looks just like where we were.
Right.
Look at the top. Look at the top there where the bubbles are folding down, and there's a hanging drip.
Right. Like this.
We saw that. We've seen that. We see so many of us have seen that with our own eyes.
How does nature do that? Look at this flat. I mean, it's just perfect. And you even almost have like bricks here.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And just walking in huge blocks. Perfect. This one here has come apart, and they call it nature.
Mark, can you talk a little bit about blocking up? How the bricks,
Yeah, and I think some people kind of get confused too. They're against the whole blocking up or expanding, which stuff expands when it gets heated up. But it's not one brick blowing up to a big boulder. It's multiple bricks in a section that they conform to each other, and they could expand a little bit or not. But it's multiple bricks. If that's what you're talking about.
That's exactly what I was getting at, because I've seen it halfway before, where you could see it's blocking up, but it's still a chunk of bricks. Right.
Yeah. So here, I'm just comparing now. This is from a ironworks factory, supposed over here from the 1850s, and here's that same shot, but just comparing this brick here, the outline here and how layering.
Yeah, the discoloring there. Yeah.
And then this one I just found. I didn't bring it home. It looks like almost two bricks together, because it was quite large, this piece. You can't really tell, but yeah, they claim these as millions of years old, and which I think it's all the same thing.
Do you think if one sec? Do you think if they bring an expert in on that, Mark, they'll change the narrative if they find those bricks?
Do I think they'll change the narrative? No, never.
But they're retroactively seeming to fill in the gaps as we're finding them. There's a bit of a narrative battle going on there, I think.
Well, yeah, and I do take that back. They do change the narrative actually all the time, just little bits and pieces. But yeah, it really is amazing to me. Now I'm going to dip into this place a little bit. 1842 to 1923 was abandoned.
Where are we here? Alabama?
Alabama, yeah. All this is everything is in Alabama except one little spot.
I'll put the banner on just so people know.
But yeah, it is amazing, like how many people just don't really investigate as far as you're getting paid for it and you're supposed to be doing science. But and okay, so this whole place has so many different variations of a brick melting in different ways, and this piece is it looks like you would think would be concrete, but what I've never seen concrete like this. I don't know if y'all have, but and changing. Yeah, you wouldn't just throw this kind of stuff together, this crystallized material, and throw a bunch of concrete over it. But
no, it's not an effective mix. There's an aggregate mixture when you make concrete to a specific size. You wouldn't be throwing big chunks. You shouldn't be throwing big chunks in there, technically speaking.
Right.
If the concrete is made up of random and large sizes of aggregate, it's really hard to mechanically mix. Those things get caught up in everything. Yeah. Look how thick that wall is. It goes back into what looks like more structure.
Right. And I have some pictures of this. I mean, it's a huge area. And just like the bricks here, I'll have some pictures, but they're all different. You're not going to have perfect bricks and then just shove huge ones and half melted ones. And what would cause this really? I mean, they say it's an ironworks factory. And I'm not saying they didn't use it at some point for something, maybe even that, but it didn't cause all of this. It seems to me. But of course,
look at those pieces. Those ones there. They. Do I get to pause? Can I pause your video? Am I allowed?
Yeah. Yeah. I can go back.
Look at that. This one's perfect. That looks like a chocolate Easter bunny. Look at the surface.
Yeah.
It's just like see, look at that. It's chocolate.
Smooth.
Yeah.
And it just stops there. And I got some more stuff here that I think I have too many pictures of this place.
So what do you think about the different colors of an affected area when you see some red, some yellow, some tan, some white? What do you make of that?
I mean, at first glance, like it's the heat cooking either the color out. It could be, I've mentioned before, like that you have the iron going through these buildings, also the iron and the metal, and around that iron and metal, the bricks change differently. It seems like that maybe there's more electrical current going through the iron and stuff, and it's like you're saying white. I've seen a lot of white around certain iron and stuff. I'm guessing it's just the heat, cooking it in different ways and the color. And I don't know. What do you think?
I did that experiment where I installed a piece of metal plate into a brick and then welded it to create as much heat as close to the brick as long as I could. And I noticed that the areas closest to the weld under the microscope had changed into a yellow crystal and had expanded notably. And then there was the bubbling surface. And then if you do welding on steel and you examine the weld, you see the heat penetrate into the surrounding steel like a heat sink. And then once it gets to a part away from the affected area, then it's normal. And I think we're seeing the transitional zones from the heat affected areas. When it goes to the white, the next step is ash. And many of us feel like a lot of the sandy areas are very likely brick ash that could have gone extremely high into the atmosphere and rained down for who knows how long after this event, or moved by water. And we were wondering, you saw how much sand was down at Ocean Beach where we were on a windy day. The top surface of the sand is red. Red dust will show up on the beach even today.
Yeah, I've seen red and white actually together on just not much, but like you're saying, Kairos. But here's just what they give us is there's only a couple pictures of this place, and here's one of them. Obviously, none of this is here, and the only thing they give us is on the narrative is when it was abandoned, they didn't tear it down. They took everything basically. They deconstructed it or whatever. Or they didn't demolish it. They just took everything. But I mean, are you taking these huge brick buildings? I mean, what are you doing? Are you just? It doesn't say anything about tearing it down. Just say it's like basically all the machinery and stuff they took. And I just wanted to show this one because look at the landscape here. It just looks like nothing, like mud and destruction. Yeah, I mean, you would just in 1840, whatever, 47 or something. You're going to build all this right here it's in the middle of nowhere, obviously. Still today, there's no population.
One of the biggest mysteries for me is not how the bricks so much got destroyed. That's one of them, but who made them all? These populations are tiny, and this is extreme product of mining and high firing.
Yes, who made them all? And in most cases, like I'll say here in a minute about the Star Forts, but it's slavery or it's and they're all manufactured on site, they say, or around the area. And there's bricks here that were made they say in Ohio. So that doesn't make sense. But
it doesn't make sense that those Scottish bricks were shipped 14,000 miles to San Francisco.
That really doesn't make sense.
That one's no good. No good.
Just really quickly, you can't see it here, but there's a little dip. It's about 1.5 foot opening, and I go in this little tunnel and go this way, and it cuts hard right. And I think I ended up somewhere around here before it dead ended. And I just this was like an 8-minute video, but I put it in like 2 minutes. But I wanted to show two separate parts that really doesn't make sense. So this is all underneath, and it's only I basically had to belly crawl in here, and I couldn't even really crawl. But everything was hollow. It kind of freaked me out too. That's why I was banging the hammer there. Underneath is hollow, and you have an archway there, but it just seems like it was more to this structure, went way down, and it got destroyed and melted from the bottom up or however. And so going through here, which all this looks pretty heat damaged, just rows and rows of bricks too.
There's
where
the
all
drip.
bricks came from. Yeah. We go right here, and then I spotted something down there, but right here, maybe a vent. It's iron up top here. Maybe some kind of ventilation thing before, but it's sealed up and heated, like it's melted together, and it's pretty strange. Who knows?
Yeah.
What it is, but
Yeah. And the bricks they're discolored, but they're clearly bricks still. They look pretty discolored. I don't know if that's just from the elements or if it's they've changed color.
And here, this is only about, I'll slow the video down here just for a second, but it's only like a 2 brick opening, and there's another room, and it goes down a little bit far, but there's no opening or window or door. There's nothing in there. So what is that?
I think somebody punched into that when they found it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Looking for metal, stripping away the tech.
Right. And just like that, where did all that come from? You're underneath this structure, and I just see melted brick.
What would they tell you? How would they tell you this was put together? Is this part of the slave narrative down there, or what
Yes.
would they? Okay.
Yeah, the initial building of this was slavery, right before the Civil War, and around the area. They just said they didn't say how many bricks or anything. It just said they made them around the area with slavery. And but you have rows and rows of bricks, and what's going on here? It looks completely melted.
That looks like if you had a welding electrode like 4 feet in diameter and touched it to a piece of metal. That's what the slag would look like. That's like right where the electrode touched, just sparked right there.
Yeah, good analogy right there. And you can see the bricks behind it of this mess here. It's just
like point of contact.
And this was crazy to me. This thing must weigh tons here. It's just left over.
That looks to be about the same size as one pallet of bricks. That's like 500 bricks.
Wow.
Yeah, it's and the transitioning. The transitioning of all of this is just really crazy. You have what looks like concrete here, but you'll have crystallized stuff in it. You've got this clay, and then you have the bricks, and then I don't have a picture of it, but you go to this slate here in the middle of all this brick. You have different transitioning.
Are you in the forest here, like pretty deep, and are you off a road, or how accessible?
It's off the road about 100 yards. I mean, you can see it plain as day. They've over the years they've taken down more trees and brush, but I mean it's a park, but there's no plaques or anything. You just walk over there. Now it goes deep in the woods. It goes on back, but it is right off of it's a county road. I mean, there's nothing there. There's a few like plants here and there, mining stuff actually, but yeah, there's nothing around here basically.
Wow, look at that.
But here just showing to me this is brick.
If you were the guy that built that and you had no idea what you're doing, how would you put in all that crud and then start those nice brick joints up above? Like how would you even try? That would be way harder than just using bricks.
And then what's underneath it is this.
Like, oh no.
That's right underneath it.
Oh no.
Just a conglomerate of all kind of stuff, all bricks and rocks and crystallized material. Like you wouldn't build it like that.
A lot of it, I think, is it's not that we wouldn't. I don't know how we can't. You can't.
No.
Right.
Look at that mess. That's another charge. That looks like electrical contact point, and it is that dark section right at the edge near the top center screen. It goes to that shiny crystallized surface again as it tucks in. Yeah, continue with that right there. It's really, and that piece down below has got 3 different colors in the same brick going from dark to tan right there.
Right. That
was extreme heat right there.
But that's 300 million years old, that part, no? This part here?
Right, just that part.
Yeah, right.
Sorry.
It was a preservation when they did the brickwork. They wanted to keep them.
That's right.
Yeah. But yeah, just showing here that this was all brick, and this is what the brick turned into. So
look at that.
It's pretty obvious, and people go here and take their wedding pictures and stuff like that. Nobody really looks. I've seen people. I've been there 3 times now, and they look around, but it's so nuts just because of stuff like now. This is the same thing. This is the bottom of it, and this is the top of it. So you have barely stamped bricks here. Can't tell what it is, but the internal of it here is just cooked out. It was all brick internals, possibly a column, because you can see the lines here.
I was going to say that, yeah. Looks like a column chunk.
Just a weird, these are two different pieces. You have these iron pieces here, but on the bottom one, it's just a slate on top of it. And you have one piece of iron over there, but just a medley of all kind of stuff. And this is another section of it. This place is so big. And I didn't even know this was here. And they did actually cut a bunch of brush and stuff where people could walk over here. There's private property around it all, but so, yeah, they don't even really mention this section at all. And here's inside of it. And what you see, what I see first, okay, where did this piece come from? Okay, was there a wall here and it collapsed? But it's all the same, it's a huge piece, and it just looks like it kind of melted in or fell from maybe this wall here. But you have just mounds of clay and brick everywhere at this place, and these columns look like this with, to me, was red brick internals, and then you had these iron pieces and stuff going through it. I don't know. Now, this is supposed to be from 1840s, so all of it. And pieces like this, you can still see the brick layering still left over, even in the corners. And this is all blackened here. And mortarless bricks everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah. That's what really got me watching your stuff, Mark. You're just walking over hills of bricks with metal sticking out. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, it's crazy. And spots like this, like, what is this? Okay, really, what is both of it? This is not concrete. This is just a mess of cooked out structure to me. But,
hey, Mark, isn't there like a creeping weed in the American South that covers the landscape? I've heard about something.
No,
like
the kudzu.
Kudzu?
Yes, they say it came from China or Japan, like a long time ago, and they say they brought it over here for the erosion, right? And then it just took over everywhere. Like, it doesn't die. I mean, it's everywhere around here. It covers everything. They did it on purpose.
Sounds like shotcrete. Yeah, it sounds like the gunite solution, but
they're huge leaves. They only die in the wintertime, but you still, I mean, it's just brown everywhere. You can't see what's underneath it, and it comes back quick. I mean, you can set it on fire, and it still comes back.
Interesting.
Pretty amazing stuff. But yeah, it's called kudzu. Just more of that. And here's how I like this piece here, because you have the brick and everything, and then all these crystallized pieces, and what you would think would be possibly concrete just walking by it. But what does that in this whole place? Okay, this is a great example to me too. Okay, this was brick and it is rock. And like you see on the mountains and stuff, you have the sedimentary lines. This is all rock. It's changed from brick to rock somehow. Oh. One of those crazy architects, I guess, right here.
Weird. So weird, yeah.
Yeah. I saw this. I'm like, what in the heck is going on here? This is that same spot, and you have the perfect brick going down, and then all of a sudden, these are just huge blocks, which I think were bricks, but expanded out or joined together and then made that somehow. Just more stuff there, and you have these crystallized pieces laying around everywhere.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you guys have either of you have a theory on precious metals like gold mining? Do you think they knew where they were going for this gold?
Yeah, it seems like gold was on everything, and it's funny that all the gold, unless it's really fine, right? It looks melted. It's all it's gold specifically, and gold's in everything. I mean, if you just dig it, and, but yeah, I don't know.
I have an idea about the gold. Is the more severe the damage, the more it resembles a mine, a common mine, the more damaged. And we know about density and buoyancy and heavier metals, and we know the gold collects at the bottom. So if you melt everything, you excavate until you get to the bottom, and that's where the gold is. And if these structures indeed had amazing electrical and metallic technology, they would be candidates for melting by the thieves.
This is the brick I was talking about that they say was. Now this place is supposed to be built, and they say that there was add-ons and all this stuff, but 1840s, and this company somewhere in Ohio, they say, wasn't until 1872, I think. But it's interesting that they're numbered. Here's an 18, 16. There's a 17 somewhere. There's one down here, but yeah, they say that they built this place on site basically with the bricks and slavery, but if you look some of these bricks up, it's coming from another state. So they say.
And think about stamping efforts in that time period. That requires machine tools and presses and assembly lines and stamping while soft prior to firing. That's a lot of work. Again, cast iron tools.
Right. So we're going to skip over to this furnace, 1861, abandoned. I'm going to get into the narrative on this one. It's pretty funny here after this little short video. But the main thing here for me when I first saw this too is you have a furnace and where you're supposed to be cooking all this stuff to make iron. It's the outside is more affected than the inside. So, and this is what I'm going to pause this real quick too. This is what it's supposed to look like before it was abandoned. So here's what it looks today. Like, how did that happen? I don't know when this picture was from, but there's no destruction or civil war. It did get destroyed once, but they rebuilt it. Get into that in just a second. But have you ever seen a furnace where the brick on the outside melts instead of the inside? I don't know.
Now that surface on the outside looks like powder. Is it really soft and crumbly if you pick at it?
Yes. Yeah. Well, you actually can't. This is from the drone. You can't really touch it because I got a gate around it. But
it looks like it's falling. It looks like it's turning. Look at that white section over there on the left. It's turned to powder.
Yeah. Wow. Look at the black ones in there.
Yeah, just every color of the rainbow, basically. And the old black and white, this would have been, 50 brick deep to the center. And it's just gone and turned to brick ash. That would be called mud bricks, I guess. I got a term for that one too, but there's no explanation.
Yeah, this is reminding me of what we see in Middle East and places like that. Yeah. That they'll tell us we're mud, right? But I think it's
right,
more of the same.
Okay, so this is going to read. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it's going to read like a kid's bedtime story at the end. So 1862 here, and we've got just skip through it. They started making iron here for guns and weapons for the Civil War. So the Confederate government purchased the ironworks and soon added a second furnace and rolling mill. And it just goes about, of course, this reputation for making iron did not go unnoticed by the Union authorities either. In the early March hours of March, it's fascinating how they give you exact dates for some, and then some things they say that, oh, this was built between these 3 years, and they don't know. But the cavalry saddled up in Montevallo and dashed to the Brewerfield Ironworks. Within minutes, the works were in flames. Okay, so it's gone in 65 or burnt down, they said. And then this guy came in. Okay, so from 1873 to 1880, the furnaces were silent. Then in the early 1880s, Thomas Jefferson Peter, that's an interesting name there, came to town, and he made it bigger and better. And it was called the Magic City of Big County, which Birmingham, which is about 45 minutes north of this place, it's actually called the Magic City. So I guess they just transferred the name to Birmingham. But so by the end of the decade, however, the future was not so bright. The huge metal furnaces in the new city of Birmingham could produce 10 times as much iron as this old brick furnace at Brewerfield. Peter struggled on. Finally, in the cold darkness of Christmas Eve morning, 1894, the Brewerfield furnace blew out forever. The end. It just seems like a kid's story to the end.
It's no happy ending. There was no happy ending. And
yeah. So that's it. It was just abandoned, and it looks like this. A corner of melted brick here.
It looks like that inside corner
right here,
right there. It became liquid and crumbled down quickly.
Yeah.
I was going to say I was going to tell that to my kids on Christmas, but then when the way it ended, there's no way I'm telling that to my kids on Christmas.
Exactly.
I'm just gonna quickly plug Mark's calendar, now available. 2025 melted calendar. Why not? Don't be shy about it.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good time to interject.
Yeah, it's just some of my pictures like this. Collaboration each month. I have a few pictures on each month of stuff of a calendar, and that if you order it, it might take some time. I still haven't gotten my first one yet, and I ordered it like 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah, but what's cool is you'll have these visuals in hand for the rest of your days. You know, even though it's a calendar, you'll keep it because of the visuals. You know.
Oh, definitely.
All right, and that'll be in links through Mark's channel if you're interested in getting that calendar.
Yeah, thank you, Chris.
You bet.
It's like here. This is all brick, and it's melted into this, changed into that. It's pretty impressive. This whole place, it's just one big block of brick. I mean, it's just crazy. They don't say how many. Now, I just wanted to touch on this. It won't be too much longer.
This will be fantastic.
What's that?
This will be fantastic.
It's these. Just wanted to touch on how many bricks. Okay, so between these 3 forts, those 2 are in Alabama. This one right here is in Florida. They equal about anywhere from 60 to 70 million bricks. Right around the same time period. This certain one here in Alabama, it was 1812. Took 15 years, they said. Slavery, of course, all of them are slavery. All they made the bricks on hand around the area, and that's all they say. So they're making all these bricks just here with slavery.
That's ancient. That's ancient. There's no way around it.
No.
That's old world.
And then they give you pictures like that of what happened. And are we to believe that? I personally don't believe any of that right there. I don't even know if there was a battle there, period.
No. It's narrative, I think. It's
a lot of those red brick fortresses, part of the narrative is they either never finished it, or it was never armed, or it was abandoned, or saw no military action. Very similar story. And then all of those precision brickworks by unskilled labor.
Right. Unskilled labor. They just went and grabbed a bunch of random slaves.
Find anybody. Just grab somebody.
This one was interesting, and this was this is Fort Pickens. So, and who knows if they put those bricks there like these? I don't know, but
those yellow ones were added.
Yeah, those were added. But the here, look at it. It goes to almost where like you're in a cave, like all of this huge conglomerate of all this different material and these rocks and quartz and crystals and then it just goes back to brick right there.
Brick internals crystallize when subjected to high heat. They do.
Yep.
So many bricks.
Yeah, just showing here the amount of bricks, the layering. It's incredible. It's just crazy how there's no research.
Really. It kind of makes me think of the pyramid. Remember that photo of the bricks and the block on the pyramid?
Yeah.
Yep. It makes you wonder about places that are where the public is not allowed to go see. Maybe there's places that still look like this somewhat that they're hiding.
Right. It's too obvious. That's why they don't let anybody go, I guess.
Yeah, they can't hide it. Yeah.
And just little rooms like this with the immaculate ceiling like that. It's like a 15 by 15 room. Why would you ever do that?
It's so hard to do. It would be so difficult.
Right. Now we're gonna go. This is called Ruffner Mountain, and it's the narrative here. It's a mining mountain, and as I said before on other sites, I'm not saying they didn't mine stuff. It was supposed to be from the early 1800s. I'm sorry, late 1800s, and it wasn't abandoned until 1950, I think. So the point is are these kind of structures here, and obviously you see brick all in this terrain here, but what we're going to look at is I'm going to compare this to the terrain here in a minute, but just I've never seen any kind of construction like this in my life. Period.
Yeah. Especially not construction that's going to hold up that long.
Yeah.
Right.
I've seen junk concrete before, and it doesn't hold up at all.
No.
And these things look like older than anything I've ever seen.
That's a great point.
Yes. They look ancient, what they call as ancient. But here's the terrain is everywhere around there, and it looks exactly like this. Just about. It's just a little bit different damage in my mind as what we're seeing here. And just, you don't really even know how to explain it.
I'm noticing in all the pictures and all the explorations and really anywhere we go, there's no old trees.
Right.
There's all this. You're in a remote area that's essentially been abandoned to the public. It's only nature, and those trees are twigs.
Those are young.
That hillside was completely barren, and it wasn't long ago.
Right. This is another site. It's a a dam, and Alabama Power Company dismantled it, they said, in around 1920. So this is from the late 1800s, powering a city about 5 miles away, whatever. But here, again, the construction, when you're supposedly putting rocks all in these crevices and spaces of the supposed concrete, but this looks like a brick there. And this is literally in the middle of nowhere too. But here's a closer shot of that, these rocks. And why are you just putting them there? Why aren't you building the whole thing with it? Or I'm just trying to make fun of it really kind of a little bit. And here's another one, just a huge rock in this, what they say is concrete. And here, I'm almost at the end. Okay, 1888. Here's that brick factory, Coaldale Brick Factory. It says it was from 1888 to 1901. But the transition, yeah, a big, what, how many years? 12 years, basically. And this place is humongous. I do have a video on it, but I haven't really got into detail and stuff about it. It's really hard to find and look up the actual narrative and stuff, but except for the years and but when you have this huge brick factory, you're just going to run into this rock in nature. This kind of goes 90 degrees the other way too, right here. Just this doesn't make sense. And I know it doesn't.
They scribed the brick there. It looks like they scribed it into the hills.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Here's a close shot, but
crazy. Wow.
It is crazy.
Making no sense.
Right. Like you don't, and these were really thin on the ends. This is on a really steep hill right here, but you just wouldn't do that. You wouldn't put, and there are layers and layers of bricks, and then all of a sudden you go 2 brick deep, 1 brick deep, and then you just go like a little plank of brick.
Yeah. Just a little scale of brick just to get that perfect finished row.
Right. Just the flatness.
Got to respect the layout.
That's right. Yeah. You don't want to dig that out straight and finish your wall off straight. Yeah. You want to contour that. These were environmentalists back then.
Going off.
Just a couple more, I think, here. I just really wanted to point out all this concrete looking stuff, and it looks like a war zone, but it just abandoned, they say. But here, okay, I'm showing some brick, and okay, you can say it was some outside brick or whatever, but this piece here, the whole thing is brick internals, and they're all different colors too. And as far as the bricks, but it's all brick internals, and you just don't see it because it's still covered like this one back here. Why is that? What they just think it's concrete. Well, it's an outer covering, obviously, and stuff. But when you're seeing this stuff in the background here, it's thinking it's possibly was all brick internals also, but it just changed. And I'm not saying every time. It's just I see stuff like this, and I'm like, okay, well, we got some changing going on. Okay, I think that's it. Yeah.
Well, it's very hard to veneer over anything with concrete. I'm sure Kairos could speak to that and stand the test of time, which makes me wonder about that as well. It all being part of the same structure, really, from the get-go.
One thing that Mark and I are noticing is that we come upon these structures and we never find the foundations. Never. We don't have time to do that kind of digging, and it's everywhere we go, and even simple places where we think it would be obvious. The Fort Point in San Francisco, that large fortress under the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah.
Foundation to that wall is always below sea level. You can't see it. It's a megalithic wall built below sea level.
And we're hearing all the stories of the underground tunnels, no matter where you look. I've done videos of over 100 places in North America. They all have, Portland's got their narrative, Seattle's got their underground narrative. They have tourists. People can go on tours to these places now. They're all over the place,
right.
But they were never a part of our understanding of the past. It's just sort of, came about.
Getting a Charlie horse in my leg.
We should probably wrap it up anyway. We're at the 2-hour mark, and I think we'll edit this out. Oh wait, it's live. Never mind. You know what? I want to thank you both for agreeing to do this with me and for putting the presentations together that you did. Because, like I said, I think what you find is very compelling evidence and helps make the case and helps a lot of other people do the research as well. It's inspiration as well. So thank you both for being here with me.
Thank you.
Certainly, it was a great time, and thanks for letting us speak. Very comfortable environment, and fellow explorers, fantastic. I wanted to ask if you still have that video queued up as an outro. That's red brick turning into powder.
Okay, so we'll outro and then we'll cut it off after that. How long is it?
1 minute, 15 seconds.
Okay, so we'll say good night to everybody. Thanks for joining us live. If you're watching the recorded version, appreciate you being here. Put a comment down below, chime in. Well, it's always nice to see people contributing to the conversation. So on that note,
good night, everyone.
Good night. Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you much.
Night. Thank y'all.
Thank you. It's the other file. The one, yeah, it's the one. Wrong file.
Oh wait, it's not this one.
It's the barrel vault one.
Oh, okay, my mistake.
Black Earth.
That red dust.
The structure is just turned into powder.
This has been an old world exploration. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe, hit the thumbs up button, and comment. I believe we are in the process of remembering who we really are and casting off the shackles of illusion. Until next time.